Welcome, part of our continuing series interviewing professors and scholars and thinkers and activists and journalists around America, whether they're on the left or the right, how they view political polarization. Many professors are busy, and we respect that. We try to reach out to professors who are experts in the field. Problem is, once you get to become an expert and pretty good, a lot of people want your time and attention. So sometimes it's hard to get a hold of them, but we do our best and we try to get relevant questions answered if we only have limited amount of time. Today, we were able to do that with Professor Michael Pasek. He's a professor of psychology at the Liberal Arts and Sciences College at the University of Chicago, where he's an assistant professor on social issues and personality. He is the author of this article, Misperceptions About Outpartisans Democratic Values May Erode Democracy. And this is what that study was about. Two studies. One, pre-registered Americans drawn from nationally representative panels shows that both Democrats and Republicans personally value core democratic characteristics such as free and fair elections, but severely underestimate opposing party members' support for the same characteristics. Democrats estimate that the average Democrat values democratic characteristics 56% in study one and 77% in study two, more than the average Republican. In a mirror image, Republicans estimate that the average Republican values democratic characteristics 82% in study one and 88% in study two, more than the average Democrat. In turn, the tendency to believe that the political in-group members value democratic characteristics more than political out-group members is associated with support for anti-democratic processes, especially among Republicans. Results suggest biased and inaccurate intergroup perceptions may contribute to democratic erosion in the United States. So what this professor has said in his study on misperceptions about outpartisan democratic values may erode democracy is what they're calling, I'm forgetting the term of it, but effective polarization. So your differences from the other person aren't that great, but you perceive them to be even larger. And part of this, and we've seen this in other studies on social polarization, political polarization, is you assume the worst about the other group. So you have your group, and then there's the other group. And when we get into politically polarized times, you begin to say, I'm sure the other group doesn't just think differently than me. They're concerned with evil, and what they want is evil. So it's not just they think differently, they're evil. And they don't want the same democratic values as me. And they don't really believe in America like I do. And they don't really want the same America I do. You start to attribute these beliefs to them that aren't based upon facts. They're just feelings. I'm sure Democrats don't love freedom as much as Republicans. I'm sure Republicans don't love a fair vote as much as Democrats, because they hate democracy and they love totalitarianism. That sort of attitude. And what he's saying is there's a lot of evidence for that. There's a lot of evidence that Democrats do it to Republicans. Over half of the Democrats, 56% to 77%. And there's a lot of evidence that Republicans do it to Democrats, 82 to 88%, or 4/5. So that's what the study found. Definitely polarization and how badly people think about the other side. So I asked him one question. Will people naturally stop assuming the worst of the other party? So without some sort of intervention or a marriage counselor or space aliens coming back, like Ronald Reagan said, and bringing us all together, if there's without some superordinate goal is the term, something to bring us all together in a way that climate change, COVID-19, the war with Russia, and terrorism couldn't. Would Americans calm down naturally? Would this polarization that you found in your report, Professor, calm down naturally? Do you see any reason to believe that? I don't think there is a natural solution, unfortunately. I suspect that this is part of our groupishness as a species and that it's something that needs to be undone with careful trust building. Left to our own devices, I suspect our psychological biases and misperceptions will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, I hope I'm wrong. Left to our own devices, That means just us Americans, without anybody getting involved, I suspect our psychological biases and misperceptions will be a self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning he believes that the bias we have to the other side is so bad that it can't be fixed and it will continue to go on, and we will hate each other so much that it becomes actualized. You know, we say Democrats hate Republicans again and again and again to the point that Democrats start to hate Republicans because that's all they hear. We say Republicans hate Democrats because Republicans love authoritarianism, and that's all we hear. And so eventually Republicans start moving towards authoritarianism. So he's afraid that the polarization that he documented in his study will not ever get better on its own and will result in a self-fulfilling prophecy. And of course, he hopes he's wrong. So that's it from there. Another expert who did a study on polarization, a specific one with data saying, I don't think it's ever going to get better, basically. Okay, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back with more.